I love that song. Welcome everybody to our August meeting, and I hope you're all well and safe. And we have a couple of logistic things. For the best view of our slides, click on the View Options icon at the top of the screen, and click on the side-by-side mode that's next to it, and that should help giving you a better view of our slideshow. Any questions, you can submit them at any time using the chat icon at the bottom of your panel, and those questions come directly to me. So any questions you have, we'll be more than happy to handle. And here's what we'll cover today. We've got the chaplain report by Steve Kolda, and then I will give you a membership update. Joe Ravello will give us the joke of the day, and I will also cover what's happening with the branch. Then John Noe will talk to the awards and the birthday boys and give us a speaker and event update. And the activity update will be given by Michael Lee. And then Randy Wong will introduce our speaker, who is Ron Baskett, and a meteorologist talking to us about the climate. And then God Bless America will be done by Mike Phelan, who will be silently singing this in sign language, backed up with an air guitar. So we're looking forward to that. Then we have a special drawing of $25 to 3 of the meeting participants. So your chances are pretty good of getting a check from our treasurer, Cheryl Surrey. So Steve Kolda, our chaplain, take it away, Steve.
Good morning, everybody. The first thing I want to name, first person I want to name is Jim McEwen, who passed away in June. And his memorial service will be held on his birthday, September 10th at 9:30 a.m. at the Sacramento National Cemetery. That's near Dixon, California. We celebrated the memory of Sir Bob Hussey last month. I do not have any information on his memorial services or ceremony, but it's been a few months since he passed away. But God bless them all and their families. As you all know, I send cards out in the name of the whole branch, the family that's left behind. So that's a good thing. I have a little invocation that I'd like to read for you. It's in these trying times. What we are all experiencing has showed us that we cannot live as nations, races, or people independent of one another. We must come together. And as we reflect on our new reality and the challenges that the global pandemic has brought, we pray that we can come together and welcome and protect one another, especially those most vulnerable, not only from the pandemic, but from the fires and other world tragedies. When the doors are closed to the weary, as they journey to find refuge from sickness and from fire, may we be there to open, to welcome our sisters and brothers who need care and protection, a place to rest their head. And if powers prevent us from opening those doors, may we be animated by the Spirit to cry out at the injustice that keeps those in need from receiving the protection they deserve. Amen.
Okay. Well done, Steve. Thank you very much. This growth chart graph shows that the growth of our branch over the past 4 years, and with our 7 new members that are coming in this month, we're now at 341 members, which makes our branch, San Ramon, the largest of all 101 branches in the state. So that's pretty darn good. We're number one. We're number one. We're number one. I'd like to welcome some new members, the 7 that I just mentioned. And we've got Paul Bailey Gates and Piedmont, who has a whole bunch of interests. And then Bill Casson of Oakland, who likes golf and fly fishing. And I also like golf and fishing, but I combine the two by fishing my golf balls out of the lake. Jim Erickson of Walnut Creek, and Dan Gayton of Oakland, Chuck Hottinger of Danville, Gary Lapp of Danville, and Bob Perko of also of Danville. And I'm looking at all your interests, guys, and you're in luck because we have activities for pretty much all of those, and hope you'll join our activities. You can find the contacts of the activities on our website. I'd like to welcome today's speaker, Ron Baskett, who is a consulting meteorology, and he'll be talking to us about air quality in the Tri-Valley. So welcome to our group, Ron, and looking forward to your speech. Okay, it's my favorite slide time, and these guys are all the former Big Sirs that certainly deserve our love and respect for what they've done over the years. And I also not only point them out, but I'd like to tell you a little bit about them that you probably don't know. And these guys all started their careers together as lumberjacks in Iowa in the 60s and discovered after 2 years that there are no trees in Iowa, and none of them actually had any work. So they all moved out to San Ramon together to work for Chevron, and that's how they got here. So that's a true story. So nice going, guys.
Very good.
Okay, Joe Ravello, make us laugh, buddy.
Well, I have a blonde joke, and I have to be careful because there's telling blonde jokes these days is dangerous. But I'm going to tell it anyway. So a young blonde is very distraught because she fears her husband's having an affair. So she goes to a gun shop and buys a handgun. Next day, she comes home to find her husband in flagrante with a beautiful redhead. She grabs the gun and holds it to her head. The husband says, "Don't kill yourself." She says hysterically, "Shut up, you're next." So, and the other next thing I heard about was a student in a biology class, and they're taking a midterm exam. And the last question was, name 7 advantages of mother's milk. The question was worth 70 points or none at all. So one student was very hard to think up 7 advantages. He started by writing, "It's perfect for formula for child. It provides immunity against several diseases. It's always the right temperature. It's inexpensive. It bonds the child to the mother and vice versa. It's always available as needed." And then he was stuck. He really finally the bell is going to ring, and he at last minute blurts this out. "And it comes in 2 attractive containers, and it's high enough off the ground where a cat can't get to it." He got an A.
Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome.
Okay, a little what's going on with the branch, and hopefully you all received these messages that all of our scheduled meetings at the bridges for the rest of the year have been canceled due to the COVID health concerns. And our first in-person meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, January 19th next year. And stay tuned for that. We will keep you updated on what's going on. And I've got to point out again that this is because of the ever increasing growth of the COVID cases and the hospitalizations due to COVID in our area. And we've committed to you since day one that we will not have, excuse me, we will not have an indoor meeting until it's 100% unconditionally safe to do so. And that's not happening at this time. So stay tuned, and we will keep you updated on our return to bridges. In the meantime, all outdoor activities will remain open, and the county masking and distancing protocols will be mandated. And for the indoor activity status, I know there's a couple of activities that are suspended. The John Knowles cooking class and Jim Kwan's dine out have been suspended. And for all the status of the rest of the indoor activities, please contact your activity leader. Last month, we introduced to you these good-looking guys who are going to be our new board members for 2022. And we will be voting online for your approval and acceptance of these as being your board members, and we'll do that next month at the next meeting, next Zoom meeting. And additionally, we'll be voting to accept Michael Garcia as our little sir in 2022. John Noel will be the big sir. Mike will be the little sir. Mike is currently on our board of directors, so most of you know him already. But we will be voting for their acceptance next month. And this is another reminder that to participate in any SIR activity, either indoor or outdoor, with you or your spouse or guest, this must be filled out. And it's a one-time action, and it's due to the liability concerns of COVID. And the original waivers, you fill them out and send them to Mike Phelan at the address listed on the bottom of the waiver form. And this waiver form is found online on our website. Okay. Again, we will have 3 names drawn from the participation list, and each lucky member will receive a $25 check from our treasurer, Gerald Surrey, and he'll generally sends those out right away. So we were going to award $1 million to each lucky guy, but we're a little short on cash this month, so we're back to $25. All right, John Knoll, talk to us about branch awards, birthdays, speaker and events update. Take it away, John.
Thank you very much, John. Too many Johns here. I wanted to talk about, first of all, our longevity awards. We've got 4 members that we're going to honor this month. Chris Argentos for 5 years, and Frank Glines 5 years, Michael Levine 5 years, and Jim Schultz. Thanks, guys, for your help, and hope you are enjoying your time with SIRS. We were talking about longevity as a group, and we decided to talk to you about some of the status or the makeup of the organization. We have one gentleman, Joe Cardinale, that has been with us for over 30 years, and Jim Kaiser, who has been with us over 25 years. And both are active and still participating in a lot of SIR activities. Congratulations, guys. Then if you look over a little bit farther to the right, you will see the makeup of the balance of the organization, all 335 members. I want to bring your attention especially to the bar graph on the right. With less than 5 years, we have a little under 50% of our membership are brand new. And you take the combination of between over 5 and under 5, and we're talking about 75% of our members are within the last 7-8 years. What that tells me is that we have a vibrant, growing organization, but also we have a lot of people that we need to meet and greet and talk to. And we're asking you guys to join in some fun activities if you haven't done so already. Thank you, Dan. Here we go with the birthday boys.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear sirs. Happy birthday to you. From good friends and true, from old friends and new. May good luck go with you and happiness too. How old are you now? Happy birthday!
Don't you love that little ending there for Danny Regal? Thanks, Michael, very much, very much. Our upcoming speaker schedule for September, we're going to have a return from John Haveman. John talked to us about the COVID effect on the economy back at the latter part of last year. And he's going to talk to us about U.S. infrastructure next month. And I think there could not be a more timely topic with what is going on in Congress right now of passing this enormous infrastructure bill. And then in October, we have a special treat for everyone. We're going to have a San Francisco bar pilot talk to us. Now, we don't know which one it's going to be because he could be on call or actually out running a ship that day. We have two of them lined up, and one of the two will join us. I think this is going to be really an exciting speaker event in October. We're all looking forward to that one. And thanks, Dan Mahoney, for putting that together. Now, our special events update. We had a very successful barbecue. And those of you that were there know what I'm talking about. We had excellent food from Hazy. We had about 190, 92 people actually there. And we had another 8 or 9 people that had a take-home dinner. So we fed well over 200 people. Very nice event. And we hope that we continue this as a regular occurrence. And by the way, we were 100% COVID compliant at that, 100% COVID compliant at that event. Thanks, guys, for joining us for a good time. Then also we had the 4 Club tournament. Yes, on August 10th, we had almost a record number of players, 49 players competed. And the little edge on this tournament is you're only allowed to bring along 4 clubs, and that's all you're allowed to play with, and no sharing of clubs. And the results are a repeat winner from Robert Caviglia. He shot a 69. By the way, when they talk about gross score and net score, that means gross is the number of times you swung and hit the ball, and the net score is that number of times you hit the ball less your handicap. We had Robert came in at 69 with a gross score winner, and Jim Buell, that's Bill Buell's brother, and for whom the tournament is named, the Buell brothers, he shot a 57. Notice Jerry Luzar came in on 2 places there. Congratulations to Jerry, and I hope, Jerry, that your wife, Linda, is doing well after her operation. By the way, it's interesting to go back there for a second, Dan, that Robert Caviglia shot a 69 using 4 clubs, and when he uses 14, he probably hits about a 75 or 80. I wonder what that says about using all your clubs, Robert. All right, thank you. Coming up, special events that we have for all of us to sign up, the Danville Historic Walking Tour. I think there's still 1 or 2 slots available on the 25th or 26th. We have 4 separate events, and that will be a walking event around Danville. And then the San Francisco Giants game. By the way, I understand there are 1 or 2 tickets available. If you are still interested, please contact Robert Caviglia, either by email or phone, and you can get to the Giants game on September 2nd. Upcoming also is the Alcatraz Tour on September 9th, and that's the bulk of our outside tours. We do have a inside event that we had set up before COVID compliance was put on us again. This will be an indoor event at Black Hawk Museum on Friday at 10:30 on the 24th, and masks will be required. Of course, COVID and waiver and vaccinations are required also. Sign up for both of those on our website. We tried very hard to get a Fleet Week venue set up. We were unable to. There was no response, and we did find a boat tour. The expense was a little bit high for us. It was over $100 per person. If you are interested, please contact someone at the down at the Fleet headquarters down on the wharf for tours. We canceled the Anchor Brewery because it's an indoor event, but we do have 2 events coming up in October. The Victorian House Tour will be on October the 6th, and the Chinatown Walking Tour will be later on the 27th. and check our website to see if about signing up. Just spoke with Randy Wong this morning about the Chinatown walking tour. He just took it and says it's really an exciting event. It gives you a lot of background and information about Chinatown that's not very obvious to us. And we're going to try to have some kind of a dim sum restaurant after that. Of course, waivers and proof of vaccination will be required for everybody. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Michael Lee for an activity update. Go for it, Michael. Well,
Okay,
there we
John,
go.
I just got a note that Michael is at a funeral and probably won't be able to call in. So I'll go ahead and do these slides for him.
Go ahead.
We've got some activities that are on hold because of the COVID situation: bridge, cooking, dine out, our Friday monthly breakfast at the Black Bear in San Ramon, the opera, the movie group, and the poker group #2. So those activities are on hold due to COVID. Stay tuned or call your activity leader for the latest update. Some virtual activities. The book club #3 is going to be discussing Pacific Crucible.
Hi.
And fantasy football is about ready to start. And if you haven't signed up for this, get a hold of Dan Poland. And we're always looking for people to join our little group. Mike Levine is got the investment group, and he meets via Zoom on the 4th Wednesday of the month. By checking the investment box on your profile online, you will automatically get updates from Mike on what's going on with the investment group. And then Michael Lee has a real fun program. It's virtual fitness. And John Noel, are you still on?
Yes, I am.
You're a regular on that thing.
Yes.
He runs you through the ringer pretty good on that too, doesn't he?
What I like about it is that he has an hour-long program and he gives us a pretty good workout, but he sends us things in advance that we can use after we're finished with him, and will give us a chance to do this on our own. Very, very nice workout. Very nice little workout.
Good. And Joe Velson runs the STEM group, the science, technology, engineering, and math. And again, you can contact Joe online through the activity section. And okay, these guys, this is known as the Serve Fun Bunch. They have their wine meetings. I believe it's twice a month, isn't it, John? Online.
Four times every Wednesday. Every
Wednesday, and you guys, it's just an excuse to drink wine on Zoom. So I understand that you guys have a blast. So that's another thing you may want to look into if you're interested in wine tasting. John, talk about the lunch in the park. That's your baby.
I was speaking with Michael Sorensen, and he suggested, this isn't my idea, but he suggested a lunch in the park. Pardon me. We just want to have an informal group of guys to get together on the first Wednesday of the month at Hap McGee Park, which is right off of Laganda, right by 680, and just get together with a brown bag lunch and have a chance to sit and talk and converse and socialize and drink a beverage of your choice. We're going to have our kickoff on the September 1. No sign up available. Just come and join us. We've got a couple of picnic tables that we combine together. So anyway, come join us next September 1, 11:30.
Good. Thank you. And as some of these other activities that follow the social distancing protocol of masking and 6 feet distance, Bocce, the AM Book Club, and the PM Book Club. And here again, these are all listed on the website, and those are the contact people, and that's also listed on the website. Bowling, cycling, Dine In, which is John's cooking class, which has been suspended through COVID.
Well, this is a dine-in group where we meet at a person's home and have dinner together. We are going to try that this month.
Gotcha. Okay, and they can contact you through your website
Already
or
set
through
up.
your email.
Already set up and in progress. Yes.
Okay, good. And also, Pedro's doing the fishing. Couples golf. I didn't want to do a quick little commercial of that. We meet the third Thursday, the day after the meeting, and it's generally a 9-hole par 3, and we get anywhere from 16 to 30 people. It's couples, either your spouse or your guest or a girlfriend or whatever. And it's really an excuse to have lunch, and it's an awful lot of fun. And if you want to play with your spouse or guest, please join us, and you can contact me at on my email. We also have 9-hole golf with Bo Brummett runs, and the Tuesday golf group run by Dan, Thursday golf group by Jim Briggs, and we play courses throughout the area. Bob Turner has a very, very active hiking group that they meet quite often. Get a hold of Bob and he'll put you on the mailing list. Same with pickleball, the poker group #1, tennis, and Tam Matosian is starting a travel group, and I think they're doing a river cruise down the Columbia coming up in a few months. So plenty of activities. The contacts are all on the website, and please join us. Okay, Randy, please introduce tell us about our guest speaker.
Good morning, guys. Again, just a reminder, if you want to ask a question, at the bottom of your screen, click on the chat icon. A chat window will open. Select to everyone and type your question. John Kent will review and ask the questions on your behalf. The topic today, if you just look out your window, you can see the terrible skies that we're having. Is on air pollution. It's a timely one due to the wildfires and air quality concerns in California. Our speaker today is Ron Baskett, who recently retired from Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory and is currently a consulting meteorologist. Ron has over 4 decades of managing projects and teams involving the atmospheric and environmental sciences. These studies include advanced modeling of health effects caused by hazardous atmospheric releases, both natural and man-made. Ron has supported executive management of local, state, and federal agencies involved with emergency response and air quality. Often the goal was to reconstruct an event from available release data along with detailed wind calculations. His work impacted high consequence emergency operations, expert testimony, wildfire analysis, and more. Oil fires, tire fires, the Fukushima and Chernobyl nuclear accidents. If you can name the event, it seems that likely Ron analyzed it. Today, Ron will discuss a local initiative to ensure the long-term good air quality in the Tri-Valley. Let's please welcome Ron Baskett, a fellow SERV from 101 member from Livermore. Take it away, Ron.
Thank you very much, Randy. Yeah, appreciate the intro this morning. And let's see, I need to have the host enable screen sharing. Looks like we have to do that each time. That would be you, Jim, I take it, or?
Jim, yeah.
Yeah. There we go.
I got you covered. Just sent it okay.
And I'll share my presentation and see if we can get this on full screen for everybody. There we go. And how are we doing? Let's see, turn off the closed caption. I think we've got it. So Yeah, as Randy said, I would like to share with you some of our group's analysis and gathering information about the air quality in the Tri-Valley and how we might, as citizens, ensure the future of our air quality. As a background, I think everyone knows that there are federal, state, and local agencies involved in the game. The feds, the EPA, set the standards back in the Nixon era, and the state is primarily responsible for transportation and auto emissions control. And the district gets down at the local source level and runs programs like Spare the Air. So in that framework, the district has put together an extensive review of how to spare our air, as well as cool the climate over the next few decades. And several of these actions are kind of shown in pictorially above. We'll focus on some of those that make a difference for improving air quality. You see one is a biodiesel effort that the Air Resources Board has conducted for several decades now and promoting, and we'll show you how much difference that'll make in our local air quality. So in 2017, also in the summer, the state legislature passed Assembly Bill 617, which established a community air protection program, and that is really what we're focusing on today, is that program, because in March 2020, the district funded a group of a half a dozen of us that put together a proposal calling ourselves the Tri-Valley Air Quality Community Alliance. That's pretty much a mouthful, but TV Aqua is another way of saying it. And so for the last 2 years, we've been reaching out to a group of stakeholders that are involved in decisions such as the city, county governments, school districts, health organizations, environmental groups, businesses at the business parks, trades, faith organizations, and yourselves, seniors. This will be the third CSRS talk given, I believe. The bottom line is, what actions can we do as a community to improve our air quality and best bang for the buck, if you will? So what is our air quality situation in the Tri-Valley? Ozone is an oxidizing agent that forms from primarily combustion products. And each year we have seen in the Tri-Valley our ozone standards exceeded. That's been consistent for quite a few decades. We'll show you the record. The other standard that's exceeded on occasion is particulate matter 2.5 microns and smaller. And we'll show you those values in the Tri-Valley that cause some concern. Thirdly is a group of several hundred toxic air contaminants, mainly coming from local sources, local things like dry cleaning, diesel generators at hospitals and the like, that are of concern in a very local level, and we'll discuss those too. So these are the three categories of air quality that we will talk about today. Now, several plans have addressed air quality over the decades, but there really has been a lack of consistent collaboration in the Tri-Valley cities. And back in 2004, Scott Haggerty, our district supervisor for the Tri-Valley, did put together a plan that listed actually 55 volunteer recommendations for the cities to look at. So the cities have been aware of this, the four cities being San Ramon, Dublin, Pleasanton, and Livermore. Those we don't include Danville in our particular Tri-Valley because we'll talk about that in a minute. But in any case, there have been several studies and several agencies involved, but not quite a consistent theme throughout the decades. The Bay Area Metropolitan Transportation Commission and ABAG, Association of Bay Area Governments, also have a long-term planning document that includes environmental concerns and general transportation plans. There is a group, and you see the list of maybe 8 or so contributors to Spare the Air Tri-Valley Resource Team. And this is mainly trying to minimize the commute and optimize the reduction of emissions in the process of going to work and business. And in addition, there is a recognition by each city in their general plan. They have an air quality element, as well as the climate action plans, which were promulgated by the 2006 Assembly Bill 32, Global Warming Solutions Act. So there are parallels going on with this effort in each city and within the district, the Bay Area Air Quality Management District. But as I say, our project has offered an opportunity to bring together the focus and look at what is really going to make a difference in the next few decades. So how do we go about that process? These are the steps that we laid out some 2 years ago. And I will show or talk about this image that I took while hiking on Pleasant Ridge this past summer. You'll see a haze layer. It looks like a light blue layer. And the top of the layer is, you can see on the left top of the picture, right below Mount Diablo, some maybe 1,500 feet above the surface, the top of the layer. So in the morning, that's what happens. In the summer, a lot of times, the emissions are trapped in the valley here, and as today, you'll see when the sun hits the ground, it brings down and the smoke from aloft and mixes it to the ground. So that's, and we'll talk about our topography. That really is why we've joined the 4 cities together. So we'll characterize our current air quality, just briefly hit on the health effects, and then focus on the emissions and what emissions are important to help improve our air quality over the next couple decades. Here is an outline of what we call an airshed. And that I just drew a line on the approximate foot above ground level, above sea level rather, contour. And you'll see that the 3 valleys, the Livermore Valley on the east side, the San Ramon Valley on the west central, and then this Amador Valley on the west side, and then the San Ramon Valley on the northwest side, form a fairly large area, almost about 100 square kilometers, almost all urban area, the 4 cities again, and 50% of the actual real estate in the 4 cities is residential, some 20% businesses and retail. So a lot of urbanization in the Tri-Valley. We're looking at what is involved in the traffic and in the individual sources around the Tri-Valley. Now, I'll point out 2 aspects of our topographic setting of our airshed. One is that we're downwind of a lot of Bay Area emissions. And so I'm showing the inflow from the west along 580 into Pleasanton, from the northwest into San Ramon from Walnut Creek, and south from Sunol, and then the exit out through the Altamont Pass. This is a typical summer afternoon sea breeze pattern. You see in the center of this image, the Livermore Airport windrows. And that small image represents the frequency of wind directions that on an annual basis. So the most common wind direction in the center of our valley is from the west. Out at Lawrence Livermore National Lab, the most common direction is from the southwest. So we mostly have winds from the west, or westerlies, that, as we call them, that come into the valley and then exit out through the Altamont. There are 3 district air quality stations. Little known fact is that San Ramon has an air quality station that's been in place since 2012 to measure ozone. One of the members of the district was curious about how ozone varies throughout the Tri-Valley, and if the winds from the northwest bring emissions down from Walnut Creek to cause certain ozone exceedances. The Pleasanton Air Quality Station is near I-5, and it's a particulate monitor station to show the effects of particulates from traffic. The station that's been in the Tri-Valley for some 40 years, the district station that measures everything, is out in central Livermore at a small shopping center on Rincon Avenue. And it's been the long-term record that we'll refer to for our planning. So the hills do surround the Tri-Valley and will trap air, but they also, the gaps in the hills provide for ventilation. We'll talk about both conditions. Here is a record for about 20 years of our 2 primary air quality problems. In black, you see the respirable particle concentrations, that the number of days each year that exceed the 35 microgram per cubic meter 24-hour standard, the federal standard. So back in the early 2000s, that was relatively high, up in the order of 20 days. But for the last 10 or so years, it's just been a few days each year, less than 5. And suddenly in 2017 and 18 and in 20, we see some spikes. It turns out that all of these days in 18 and 2020 were due to wildfire smoke coming into the Tri-Valley. And if you take out the wildfire plumes, you drop down to 0 exceedances of respirable particles. The reason for that is that the district and the air district has implemented the reduction of wood smoke and successful use of spare the air forecast. So our particulate matter problem mainly goes to wildfires. In the past, cold winter nights with a high pressure over us with low wind speeds, we had a particular problem, and it was just locally generated fugitive dust from roads and primarily wood smoke. But now that has pretty much been controlled since the late 2015, 16. And we'll talk about wildfires a little bit more. So the long-term goal for our community is to achieve 0 exceedances per year. We are not there with ozone. You can see it in the last decade has come down from 15 to more like 7 or 8 per year. In 2020, we had 2 exceedances, so it was an unusually clear year for ozone production. The ozone is created by primarily combustion, is dominated by traffic emissions, and is mostly transported into the Tri-Valley from the west. It occurs during the summer months, May to October, with high pressure, low wind speeds, and high temperatures. So that's our big picture and the historical perspective. Now we take a look at 2020. This would be the case of the the period of September 6 to 10, lightning fires that were ignited in Northern California. And you see several days when the Bay Area smoke plumes were directly over the Bay Area. There were 3 periods in 2020 where there are 17 days of exceedances. And you'll see from these 3 graphs of Pleasanton Air Quality Index of particulate matter, Livermore particulate matter, and the 2 lines show that in late August, and then September 6 to 12, and then 6 to 14, and then October 1st to 3rd, there were some really high exceedances of PM 2.5, And I'm showing it relative to the daily air quality index, the index meaning that 100 is the standard, the 24-hour standard. The interesting too about these periods is that the only two times when the ozone was exceeded, and you'll see that in the dark line, which is the Livermore ozone value, were at the beginning of the intrusion of the wildfire plume from the northeast. And that occurred on in August 19th, as well as October 1st. So to summarize, for those 17 days, which only represent 6% of the year, we received almost 40% of our total annual exposure to PM 2.5. And that was 2020. So there are, in addition to the 3 Bay Area Air Quality Management District stations, I'm sure many of you are familiar with the Purple Air Network that individuals can buy a sensor from a company, Purple Air, and place the sensor either outdoors, which you see is in the larger circle, or indoors, which you see data represented by a circle with a solid line around it, and generally a lot better air quality. This is a sample from August 6th, when we had some wildfire smoke come into the area. The one thing I want to say about Purple Air is that the data show a 10-minute average. So the data can be really high. You see, if you can read the tiny values, they're typically between 150 and 170. That's again, the percent of the air quality index for PM 2.5. Whereas what the district will report for the day would be air quality index of 63. So that's a 24-hour standard. So the Purple Air are really handy to see when, the timing of when the plume comes into town, if you will. Today we were started out all green in the morning, and about 10:30 in the morning, the winds from the north were bringing in the smoke from fires to the north, and Livermore started turning orange, and then now the whole valley is over 100% of the air quality index. Again, it's a little bit of a misnomer. These are real-time, short-term, whereas the air quality, the standard for PM 2.5 is 24-hour. So you're comparing a little bit of apples to oranges, and you need to be aware of that when you see this data. It'll be interesting what our index will be today. The forecast is around 60. So 24 hours, it probably will be 60. But if you were to go out golfing, you will experience some definitely large concentrations of particulates. This is another study that is being conducted by collaboration of Google with a company called Aclima, and has UC Berkeley as a principal investigator, to look at the details of instantaneous emissions from different city centers. We're showing Livermore here, where the Google car drove around Livermore in the winter of 2019, as I recall. And they're showing in red the highest concentration of black carbon, and that is primarily the constituent out of PM 2.5 that is known to be a cancer-causing agent from diesel emissions. So you see that around large values along I-580 and some spikes in town. So these cars have been driving around for a couple of years in the Tri-Valley, and we look to the researchers to publish the results and help us out understanding our situation. So again, what are the health effects of ozone? In summary, they oxidize tissue deep inside your lung, and the standard protects those healthy adults with a margin of safety. So it does not protect sensitive folks. We'll talk about that. PM 2.5 is also a respiratory problem. Tiny particles. Human hair is about 50 to 70 microns in diameter. So it's a really tiny, invisible particle that can get down inside your lungs and accumulate, resulting in increased chance of stroke, heart attack, and premature death. But both are reflected in asthma. So what the district has found is that within the particulate matter, the diesel engine exhaust particulate matter, also known as just diesel particulate matter, contributes to about 2/3 of the cancer risk from particulate matter in the Tri-Valley. This is actually based on our emissions and their analysis of cancer risk. So the other components that contribute to cancer are shown here, mostly polycyclic organic materials that are released in solvent processes. On the right, you see that the Air Resources Board for decades, from the late 80s to current, have been very successful at creating diesel standards to reduce emissions. Nitrogen oxides are on the vertical axis, particulate matter on the horizontal axis, and the volume of those rectangles show that by 2010, if you were to develop a new fleet of diesels with new regulations, you would have a tiny fraction of the emissions. That being said, diesel trucks last millions of miles, so it takes decades to get new fleets into service. And the latest implementation is in the last decade has been to encourage the use of biodiesel. We talked somewhat about sensitive groups, and one of the aspects of our project is to locate the sensitive populations around the Tri-Valley. These would be health institutions, senior centers, areas, schools, and the like. And our current standards of PM 2.5, the epidemiological researchers, there are quite a few that say that the standard for an annual standard, which is 12 micrograms per cubic meter, should be actually 8 micrograms per cubic meter, because particulate matter is cumulative. You breathe in and out, and a fraction of those particles will stay in your lung. So there is an annual standard as well. Currently, the annual standard is 12, and the Tri-Valley runs around 8, right at the threshold of where experts consider a significant problem for sensitive populations, primarily asthmatics. And you see we run about 15 or 16% of our population as asthmatics in the Tri-Valley. So your health is determined by where you are, and you tend to spend, we've been talking air quality, outdoor concentrations up to this point, but you may have a hobby of cooking and doing a lot of frying. That will create greater indoor air concentrations than are outdoor of some particulates. But in general, indoor air quality in a modern home with good insulation is substantially less than outdoor concentration for both ozone and particulate. That said, if you that is very dependent upon your filter efficiency, and to really reduce the respirable particles, you need to get the MERV 13 filter or higher. So that's again, your total annual intake will depend upon your HVAC system and what you do inside. So what kind of emissions do we have in and around the Tri-Valley? We have, on the left, you see by color coding, the traffic, which obviously is dominated by freeway emissions. And directly upwind of us on the East Bay is of course, a significant traffic corridor, which creates primary source of nitrogen oxides and reactive organic compounds that turn into ozone by the time they are hit by the sunlight and create smog on the way to our Tri-Valley area. That is the primary goal of the district is to encourage electrification of traffic and to make an efficient flow. Regarding the stationary sources, I've highlighted out of the several hundred permitted stationary sources, which run mostly from a few tons per year, most even fractions of tons per year. But one of the significant sources out in the Eastern Valley is the Baskett landfill. It's interesting that the city of San Ramon operations actually are a significant source of nitrogen oxides up in the San Ramon Valley. So there are other areas in the central part of the Tri-Valley which have significant stationary sources. But the rule of thumb that, and we talked about the toxic air contaminants, is that 50 tons or more a year could create a local hotspot, and we do not have that size of emission anywhere in the Tri-Valley. But we do have a significant number of landscaping uncontrolled sources of gas-powered landscaping equipment, both commercial and commercial operation landscapers, as well as your own individual lawnmower or a weed whacker or that you would use in your daily, your weekly landscaping maintenance. It turns out that when we look at when the Air Resources Board took a hard look at these, and they call these actually grouped in a name of a category, emissions category called small off-road engines. I'll use that acronym here, SOAR. And one of the issues that is studied is the fact that the landscape workers are exposed to fairly high level immediate emissions from these from working each day. But the Air Resources Board found that 1 hour of a lawnmower use is equivalent to driving 300 miles of Toyota Camry with a catalytic converter, whereas the leaf blower is over 1,000 miles. So if you look at the comparison of all of the small off-road engines, the SOARs in yellow, to all of the cars, and this is a statewide, as more and more individuals buy electric and hybrid cars, the emissions are reducing, and these are smog forming emissions that we're talking about substantially over the next decade. In fact, much less than half, whereas the forecast is for the landscaping equipment to continue to be a significant source of smog forming emissions, to the extent that in 2022 they will projected to exceed all of the car emissions. And why is this? It's because of the significant cost of a landscaping, a commercial landscaping operation to convert to electric. It turns out that the individuals, about half of us have private citizens, when we buy new landscaping, a lawnmower or leaf blower, we buy electric, but only a tiny fraction of commercial landscapers have gone to electric. So so we did a survey back last fall to see what our citizens think, and about 300 households responded, representing about 1,000 individuals in the Tri-Valley. Again, the Tri-Valley population runs about 313,000 now, so this is a small fraction, but it was an indication that it was universal acceptance that wildfires are our biggest air quality problem, and that's unacceptable when wildfires come into our area. Whereas in general, most people thought that air quality was pretty good in the Tri-Valley, and about 30% thought that the air quality in the Tri-Valley really was not acceptable. The biggest problem that everyone thought was a combination of either traffic or landscaping equipment. as a source of both pollution and noise. and then indication that about 30% currently are electrified with landscaping when they do their own. The vast majority did think that air quality is a significant criteria for living in the Tri-Valley. So in closing, to summarize what we have done for the last 2 years has been to collect and post our understanding of the air quality emissions and what we can do. We've made over a dozen presentations and we continue to be open to groups of interest. This has been quite a challenge during COVID. Our group is only about a half a dozen and we welcome those that might be interested in joining in. And the biggest single thing that we have found that we can do is to promote either the ban of gas powered by city ordinance, which has been done in some 8 or 9 cities throughout the Bay Area already. We gave a talk on how this can benefit individual homeowners. We actually formed up an initiative and work with the equipment manufacturers and landscape companies, and then funded an incentive program with half of our $50,000 funds from the Assembly Bill project, and have successfully had 3 applicants apply for this and fund the beginning of conversion to electric landscaping equipment. So that's kind of been our story here for a couple of years, and I would encourage you to take a look at our webpage. We have a lot of information out there, and we are in the process of working with the district to basically develop a document and a profile of our air quality in the Tri-Valley for all the stakeholders to use in future planning. We understand development's going to go forward, and we hope that it's informed development so that we can maintain our good air quality that we have. I want to thank you for your time and glad to answer questions that come up.
Great, Ron. Thank you very, very much. Always interesting to find out what the causing and what the status of our climate is around in the area where we live. And we really appreciate you taking the time to explain it to us. One quick question. Can you hang around after this meeting is over? Probably in about another 5 or 10 minutes. Can you hang around for some open questions? Beautiful. Thank you. I have a couple of questions that came in from the group. And one, if you can refer back to slide number 15, it's a graph.
Right, yes. So the question is
15, yeah. What's the time period?
For let's see, time period for on the chart on the left. Oh, okay. Let's see. Very good question. That is taken from the last full emissions inventory for the entire Bay Area was done in 2018. So this represents the analysis of the emissions, and the district actually shared this database with us. It's daunting. It's 67 megabytes of emission data, and that just for the Tri-Valley. But this is based on their analysis. They have a tool that weights emissions by cancer risk factors, but this represents the emissions in 2018.
Gotcha. That certainly gives us all heartburn. Is that going up or going down as it relates to exhaust particulate matter?
As I understand, diesel emissions have been relatively steady over the last several years. That's a good question. If we see it out in the Tri-Valley, if there's any decline. When I looked at it during COVID, I actually saw an increase in diesel emissions because of the increased delivery that was happening. Delivery vehicles and a lot of trucks on the freeway. So
yeah.
It's a very slow process to have fleets of diesels become more, have the newer Air Resources Board emission requirements as they buy new fleets. Really expensive.
Yeah, and with the proliferation of home deliveries such as Amazon and all of those things, it's going to get even more and more trucks on the highway.
That's what's happening.
If you project ahead a couple of decades, what climate conditions will our grandchildren encounter that gives you heartburn? What concerns you about what our grandkids are going to be facing relative to climate conditions?
Aha. Okay, that's a different category. I've been talking entirely about air quality, and that gets down to really what people in their activities emit, and then how the air moves around and what concentrations you receive as an individual. So and it's mainly aimed at understanding our health effect. And so climate is associated, is a parallel world with the greenhouse gas emissions, and they're dominated by combustion as well. But I'm the direction of concern about climate. I think we all know that climate is definitely seeing an increase in temperatures, and to the effect that has on our future generations is to my knowledge, is going to be a fairly profound thing. So how to deal with warmer temperatures, more extreme events such as our wildfires.
Okay. This might be a medical question, but does our immune system adjust to the deterioration of air quality over the years? Do you know that? Has that ever come up?
Yes, from the literature I understand is that as we age, seniors are more sensitive to bad air quality. So the older you get, the more sensitive you are. We are considered a sensitive population. So the standards that we see may not fully protect our health. So it behooves us. Oh, and I meant to point this out in the presentation was that, but you'll see the yellow designation to a moderate air quality index, which is between 50 and 100% of the standard. And I showed exceedances in that one chart, which only are a few days a year, but we have somewhere every year 20 or 30 days in the moderate range. Today is one of them. And so that's where our health is being affected. About 30% of the citizens in the Tri-Valley will experience a cancer, and again that's driven largely by the risk of diesel, and then we also have the 15% asthma and 20% stroke, and these are all air pollution does contribute to these. So protecting yourself on bad air days is the bottom line there. Staying indoors. You can even turn on your air, just turn on your fan and use your filter system to remove particles, or buy an air filtration system for the home.
Ron, does the masking that we currently do because of the COVID situation, does that help filter the air quality? For the bad
yes,
air?
it does. Yes, masking will help. It's not perfectly efficient for the small respirable particles, but it will help. Yes, reduce your load.
Good. We all seem to hear what's wrong with the air quality and what's causing it, but we don't seem to hear very little about substantial action plans to fix or improve it. Is there a central source that's addressing this issue, or is this all localized?
So yeah, as I started out in my talk, it's a combination of organizations at federal, state, and local levels, but really the local action is down to the Bay Area Air Quality 9-county district. And I highly recommend reading that one document, 2017 Spare the Air, Cool the Climate. that is well written, and it shows how 5 decades of focus on understanding the problems and controlling the emissions that make a difference have really cleared, really improved the air quality in the Bay Area. I mean, the single decision to do vapor recovery at gas stations basically reduced the ozone concentration by exceedances by half. I mean, that goes back several decades ago.
Okay, and so I'm understanding that in our area that seems to be working, and we've got these entities working in our favor then.
That's right. The district has the jurisdiction to implement programs, and they've done a great job. The Spare the Air Day is a voluntary program, but the controls that the district has implemented on stationary sources, they just made a decision, for example, which doesn't affect us, but the refineries in the Richmond area are going to now have added scrubbers. That's been an issue for quite a number of years up in that area. We are fortunate and different in many of the areas of the Bay Area in that we do not have a single major industrial source in our Tri-Valley. And I can assure you, having been an air quality consultant, that the district would not allow something to come in the area that had a significant new source. But so there's the permitting part as well. But
we have from our group, we have several questions that regard reducing solar use and increasing electric. Can you talk a little bit about that, about going from emissions to battery electric? How are we gonna pull that off? What's happening? Is it our, like landscapers, for example? Are they working? That one chart that you showed on the leaf blowers, it's equal to what, 1,100 miles of driving to Denver? That's unbelievable. And when you see all these blow and go guys, all over the neighborhood, that's a lot of emission. Is there any effort to switch to electric or battery on that?
The effort that we observed in our interaction in our workshops and the manufacturers is that it is relatively slow. It's a for the, if you will, the small individual landscapers. It's just a major transition, and that's really the district actually had a program to fund conversion for private landscapers, and they did have several takers, but it's a major leap. And when you think about it, I mean, they have to get a whole new truck with that has the batteries, the backups, the chargers, and they have to get first buy all new equipment. But what we found is that when working with these three landscapers that did take advantage of our incentive, is that the actual workers are a lot happier. The noise levels down. They're not using the fumes, and so it's just a matter of an education process that takes a while. And what we also found is that it's probably going to be hardest for, if you will, the mom and pop guys that are out there with a couple vehicles and just a small landscaping unit. The bigger outfits will, I'm convinced, in the next few years, if the cities start making the ordinances, no new use of no new purchases in our backyard, if you will, of gas power. That's going to be, the city is going to have to drive this, is what I see it.
Gotcha. Okay, Ron, thank you so much. Very, very interesting. It's something that impacts all of us, and we really appreciate you taking the time for us. And got a little wall hanger for you, if Dan, you can get to the next slide. This is coming up. Okay, in there somewhere.
Okay.
And I'm not referring to me as being one of your wall hangers. There it is. We've got, want to thank you so much for presenting to our group, and you will be getting this in the mail and suitable for hanging right smack in the middle of your living room. And we certainly appreciate it.
All right. Thank you,
So
John.
we're going to be wrapping up, Ron, if you can hang on for a few minutes.
Sure.
And right now, Mike Thalen is going to close us with God Bless America. Go, Mike.
I'll do that. I think I'm unmuted, and thanks for the great presentation. Enjoyed it a lot. Contrary to what John said earlier, my air guitar is out of tune, so I'm going to use the acoustic. Here we go. While the storm clouds gather far across the sea, let us swear allegiance to a land that's free. Let us all be grateful for a land so fair, as we raise our voices in a solemn prayer. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Great, Mike. Thanks a lot. Okay, now we're down to the final drawing, or the drawing for today, rather, of 3 lucky winners who will receive a $25 check. And they are Jim Burke, Al Hudak, and Randy Wong. Nice going, guys. And you'll be getting a check in the mail, trust me. Okie doke. Thanks for joining us today. And we're going to stay open for about another 20 minutes if you want to interact with others and ask Ron some questions. And Jim Burke will be handling this. And so, Jim, if you can just kind of host this thing through, and hope to see you all at our next meeting on Wednesday, September 15th. All right, guys. So long. Thanks for joining us. Go ahead, Jim. It's all yours.
Thank you, John. Yeah, we thought we would hang on. We ran a little bit over today, but we can certainly hang on here maybe another 10 minutes or so if anyone's got additional questions for Ron, or if you have anything else you want to bring up for discussion in sort of an open forum right now. I just sent out a request for everyone to unmute if you would like to. So feel free, and I'll kind of turn the floor over to whoever might pipe up first. If there are any questions, additional questions for Ron or anything else.
I do see in the chat the question about K95 mask protection for ozone, and the answer is no. In general, the masking is just a particulate shield, not a for gases. And ozone, of course, is a gas.
Very good.
Ron, this is John Knoll speaking. I found the presentation to be interesting, and what really hit me was what is said in the chat room is the SOAR devices and how much they're contributing to our pollution. And you're looking at a group of entrepreneurs who buy a couple of pieces of equipment, have a couple of guys working with them, and they go out and they mow lawns and
Mhm.
take care of. The only way that this is going to change is if there is some kind of an incentive, some kind of money available to them to buy different equipment. To ask these guys to go out and spend what they usually might have to spend $400 for, and they end up having to spend $600 or $800 for, is a hell of a burden. Is there any talk about having some kind of cash incentive, some kind of payment system, some kind of help for these folks to buy better, different equipment?
So yes, the Air Quality District did run an incentive program for commercial landscapers for a few years, and I recall it's several $100,000. I don't remember the total number, but the money was spent out, and then we, as an organization, picked that up, that same concept. But it's just a starter to do the 5,000. They basically need tens of thousands to convert a landscaping operation to fully electric. We also approached all of the golf courses in the Tri-Valley, and I would say each of them superintendents were interested, but many of those operators, they're talking about 25 to 75 horsepower sit-down machines, which are those are major investments they make once a decade. So it's a decadal process. I will say that Carl Wente went out and bought a bunch of electric tractors, and he's made the news that he's been doing his operations with electric vehicles. So this is what it takes. And it is interesting too that there are several European golf courses that have automated electric lawnmowers that go around and take care of the different parts of the courses when folks are not on the courses, and completely automated, like your Rumba, vacuum cleaner in your house. So yeah, yeah, just keep the word, get the word out. If you ever have conversation, the other aspect is actually just to have less grass, which to me, I actually, it's hard for me to see landscapers work the medians on our thoroughfares. I mean, I know that our mayor, Carla Brown, has done, some conversion of the Pleasanton medians to low water use plants, but yeah, this nice visual green lush look has got to go, except for the golf courses.
Ron,
This is Mike Thielen. I have a quick question. I always thought aerosols and cans and all that were pretty bad for the ozone layer, et cetera, but yet they're still around, lots of them. And I was wondering if I'm wrong with that.
You're right. There's a certain set of chlorofluorocarbons that are have a long-term effect in terms of in terms of going up in the upper atmosphere, creating ozone. As I understand the state standards, those are all the ones that are the bad actors are no longer permitted. I mean, we still have aerosols, but they're not ozone producing.
Got it. Okay.
Ron, I may have missed it, but for residential landscaping maintenance, are we talking about cord powered or battery powered equipment?
Right. Yeah, I saw that your question there. Either way, if you do cord, I mean, that's the same. And you're basically replacing a gas engine, and you will not see commercial operators use corded, because it's just too inconvenient. But if you were to go out and back, I mean, yeah, corded is great. Any way you replace gas.
Okay, but the investment for the landscaping contractor is going to be battery powered, which is where the expense comes in.
Absolutely, that's it. It's tens of thousands of dollars to convert an operation to electric and get all the battery backups and the charging on the trucks and stuff.
Do you have any feeling for how much it is per mower? or blower?
Well, commercial, that's a good question. I mean, the private mowers, I mean, you see are on the order of $500. The commercial ones, probably a little bit more for just a regular, that's your 21 inch. It's more the sit down ones and the larger ones that the golf course is gonna make a big difference and I don't have a handle on the price of those, but
Okay,
yeah, on the order of $1,000 per unit, and then depends on how many units they have and how many crews they have. But then it's the infrastructure of the charging and the batteries, because you buy multiple batteries so that you can run operations a full 8 or 10 hours a day.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm aware of a very good electric blower made by a company called Ego,
Yes.
but I don't know what the battery life is, and that probably is a big problem for a commercial operation.
That's right. And the one complaint that we did hear on all of the aspects was that the leaf blowers are not as strong as gas. And that's if these guys could just live with it. One organization, the guy actually said, I actually went out and bought some rakes, and I'm having these guys doing some raking, which is interesting too.
I don't know whether you've looked at it or not. My son has a leaf blower from that company called Ego.
Mhm.
It uses a pretty heavy, big battery.
Oh yeah.
And but he says it is every bit as efficient as the gas blower he had.
Oh yes. Yeah, I think the Eco, the high end with the 60 volt, that's the one. Yeah, it's a
That's
good
right.
one.
Yeah, he said 56 volt lithium
56,
battery.
that's it, yeah.
Thank you. A very good presentation.
Other questions that anyone may have?
About the cities, I see Phil is asking about the cities. Yes, we've talked to each of the cities.
There we go.
And yeah, they contract out, and they're aware that hopefully the next major purchase would go electric.
Well, it seems to me it's kind of hard to be half electric and half gas, because you need to have the infrastructure to charge these batteries for reuse.
You're right.
And so somebody's going to have a 10-hour day. He's going to need to A, replace batteries, and B, have something on his truck that he can recharge these as he's driving around in his gas car.
Yeah, you're
It's gas
absolutely right. Either that or right now these guys run back to gas stations, and they say it takes time, and and they're exposing, and you could go to your base charging station too. You don't have to have it charging on the truck. Yeah. Depends on the operation, how local it is.
That's for sure.
Does your group have your group reached out to homeowners associations on the same topic? That seems to me to be a place where you can contact and get a hold of a number of these small landscaping companies.
Not specifically, but yeah. I mean, our stakeholder group is running, I think it's like about 300 people and organizations. So whether they have, we haven't gone directly to homeowners, so homeowners organizations. That's a good
HOAs,
idea.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead. If there are no more questions, then I'm looking at chat. I have been missing them, but thanks for catching them, Ron.
Yeah.
Thank you again for your time and knowledge that you've shared with all of us. I think, as we mentioned, we found it interesting, and some parts of it startling.
Yeah.
So we appreciate, definitely eye-opening. So if there are no objections, then I will go ahead and close this meeting out with thanks to everyone that hung around, and we will see you.
Thank you again, Ron. It was very nice.
Thanks,
Very
guys. Enjoy it.
Excellent
Yeah.
job.
All right, guys. Thank you
Be
much.
out there on the course.
All right.
Best to Bruce Daggy if you hear from him.
Okay.
See you
Thanks,
guys.
everyone.